Why nurses should be leading the multi-billion-dollar continuing education industry. Hello, hello, hello to everybody here. It's Teresa Sanderson. Excited to connect with you today and talk about the nursing continuing education industry and why nurses should be leading it, right? Why nurses should step up and teach other nurses what they know in the form of nursing continuing education. We're going to talk about this today from a different perspective and just really look hard at why nurses should be doing this and why nursing continuing education should be nurse-led. Okay, so if you don't know it already, the nursing continuing education market is a multi-billion-dollar industry. We don't see or hear a lot about it. Why is that? Well, because nursing continuing education is largely considered one of those things that a nurse must do in order to keep their license. And while there are a few states in the United States who don't require nurses to have continuing education credit for licensure renewal, yes, there are a few. I think there's about 7. But while those states exist, even if the state does not require nursing continuing education for licensure renewal, employers most likely do and will. Okay, so what does that mean? That means there are more than 4 million nurses in the United States. Okay, do the math. If let's just say if 2 million, let's just say 50% of those nurses paid the average rate of about what's going on the internet right now, $47 for 30 contact hours, we're looking at billions of dollars. And that's even just considering that 50% of the nursing workforce needs continuing education and would choose to buy it at that greatly reduced rate, right? And in my opinion, that is a greatly reduced rate for a lot of different reasons. But I think the biggest reason is that, CE, continuing education, has become an industry. And so there are some really big players out there who will put out loads of nursing continuing education content, and nurses can tell you, chat with your nurse friends and consider your own opinion. If you've ever grabbed one of those packages for licensure renewal, they're really not very transformational. They don't inspire nurses. And many of them even say things like no post-test required. So really, you just grab these words on a page, typically, whether you read it or not, and you print your evaluation and you have your certificate. So this is what I consider, in my mind, I mean, this is the nature of industry, right? This is business, I think, at its best in the United States, because we can find an opportunity like this where somebody has a requirement, and what's the cheapest, fastest, easiest way that we can get that out there, check all the boxes, make sure it's packaged the right way, and really not worry about whether or not it has an impact. Do you see what I mean? They're selling a product. It's a means to an end. Do nurses use it, and can they use it successfully for licensure renewal? Yes, they can. But is it the top quality nursing continuing education that nurses truly need and deserve to be successful and sustain their careers? Probably not. Okay. So we know that now you know nursing CE is indeed an industry. And we've talked about who's leading it, but let's dive into that a little bit deeper, because when nursing continuing education is looked at from this business perspective and not really looked at from the point of, how's this really going to help a nurse improve their daily practice and patient care, then we end up with things like disconnected content, courses that are designed without the frontline perspective in mind and that don't really reflect real-world nursing practice. Another thing that happens is, think about this, profit without representation. Nurses consume nursing continuing education courses. We are required to, whether it's employer-driven or Board of Nursing-driven for licensure renewal, but nurses do not typically benefit financially from the revenue stream. Isn't that crazy? Who better to teach nurses than nurses? Who better to create this content than nurses who have the living, breathing experience of having been in these situations, worked in these specialties, and all of that, right? And the last thing is, there's limited perspective when these courses are created possibly even without nurse-led input. And so the industry as a whole, our profession, misses opportunities for innovation and even cultural change. And a lot of this leads to what? Sticking with the status quo. Sticking with the status quo and not being able to move forward and elevate as a profession, which is one of my biggest goals and dreams for nursing in the future, is that we can finally elevate and step into the true professionals that we are. And what better way to do that than for us to step up and lead the continuing education industry, right? Are you with me? So why should we be doing it? Let's just reinforce this just a little bit. Nurses, first of all, we have a lot of these nurse groups on Facebook and other social media, right? And when nurses have questions, who do they go to? They go to the nursing groups. They want to ask a nurse. When they need advice, nurses trust nurses. So nurses trust each other to have the practical knowledge to be able to share that will really help us improve our daily practice. So nurses trust nurses. Nurses also understand the realities of daily patient care. So we speak the same language. Nurses understand each other, right? Nursing terminology, nursing lingo, the things we refer to are things that are easily passed on from one nurse to another. Nurses are also natural innovators. I often say that nurses are pretty much like MacGyver. We can solve a problem with just a straw and a piece of tape most of the time. And in many situations in the workforce over my 34-year career, while I may not have used a straw and a piece of tape, I did very similar types of workarounds almost every day in my career to be able to ensure that I could meet the patient goals, get them from point A to point B in their care plan, those kinds of things. So this happens. So nurses are natural innovators. We can identify practice gaps that others may overlook. And honestly, who better to identify practice gaps than a nurse or a nurse manager who's actively involved in their nursing unit and can teach to that particular knowledge gap. And instead of teaching one-to-one or even one-to-one unit, that particular nurse can develop a continuing education course about that knowledge gap and how to resolve it, solution options and those kind of things to prevent adverse patient outcomes. And we can share it with thousands or millions of nurses instead of one-to-one or one-to-one unit. You see what I'm saying? We can make a big difference. We can make a really big difference. And then also the financial equity. Let's talk about that. Revenue from nursing continuing education should benefit the nurses, right? And the nursing profession, not just big corporations. So this is my call to every nurse who has been considering or thinking about, in the back of my mind, I've been trying to figure out how to set myself up as a nursing continuing education provider and hand down the knowledge I've accumulated over the years to newer nurses, younger nurses than me, so that I can leave a legacy behind and I can also be paid what I'm worth for generating that content. Are you with me? Nursing continuing education should benefit nurses in many more ways, many more impactful ways than just checking a box for licensure renewal. So if this has been on your to-do list or something that you want to do, I want to encourage you to hear me out because there are some barriers that keep nurses out of this. And the biggest one that I see, I've been working as a nursing continuing education consultant for years, and the biggest one that I see is confusion over application requirements. How do I apply? Where do I apply? Am I strong enough? Do I have enough degrees? Do I have enough certifications? Right? All of those kind of questions can really hold a nurse back. That fear of not being qualified enough to teach, overwhelm with business or technology setup can stop a nurse in their tracks. And keep them from moving forward with preparing and sharing a course that could very well impact patient care all over the country, impact and improve patient care all over the country. So I want you to know, nurses, if you've been thinking about getting started as a nursing continuing education provider and starting a business in this, that it is possible and you don't have to do it alone. These challenges that you're encountering, they're just speed bumps. They're not stop signs. You can do this with the right support. So what is the opportunity? Thinking about nursing continuing education, what is the opportunity? It is a business opportunity, in all honesty. You can call it a side hustle. If you want to do this on the side of your traditional nursing career, you can definitely do that. You can also step into it full time. There are ways for you to do all of that and perhaps even earn more than you've ever earned in your nursing career. So the income potential is huge because we create a course one time and it sells for as long as it sells, okay, over and over and over again. And not every course is presented live. Many are recorded and they are just presented on demand. So you have the opportunity for that. A nursing CE business opportunity is also scalable. You can have one course that leads into many other courses or products. And let's talk about impact, because most nurses are tired of feeling like they're not fully appreciated or not making the difference that they want to make in the nursing profession. Nurse-led continuing education, oh my gosh, it is the easiest way to impact nursing practice, nursing culture, build leadership, all of those things, and strengthen the sustainability of our nursing workforce. So talk about making a massive impact with one thing. With CE, you definitely can do it. Now, the other thing I want you to know, the CE industry is already here, right? Nurses are already paying for it. The income is flowing. So it's a proven business model. The question is, are you going to step up and claim your place at the table? That is the question. So if you've been wondering if nursing continuing education as a business is for you, I want to invite you to comment snapshot below so that I can send you the link to take our nursing CE business snapshot so you can find out right now today just how prepared you may already be to start a nursing continuing education business. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.